Next question is from Dave on Instagram. Adam, we got everything figured out for the bright tanks. We were having an earlier conversation. I got a question for you. Love your videos, by the way. When we are done cleaning our kegs with our keg washer, it typically fills the keg with CO2 up to a certain PSI at the very end of the cleaning cycle. What PSI is the keg needed to be in order to fill it and not overcarbonate the beer that we're filling it with? Continuing, the question continues, what PSI do you normally fill the fermenter and or bright tank in order to transfer the beer into the keg? The reason I asked is I've seen somebody use 20 to 25 PSI going into a keg that already had 12 PSI in order to get the pressure high enough for the transfer. The beer tastes a lot different when they use this method, and it seems over-carbed. Dave, man, so yeah, a lot of times you will see kegs pressurized up to, and it's probably a preset on your keg washer. It's going to purge that keg and then pressurize it. And if you're filling kegs by hand, if that pressure is higher, you can just turn it down. You can just kind of knock that preset down or blow a little pressure off before filling. Now, I've used, if you look at the keg filling tutorial that I have, that's just using a manual rig. If you have your coupler that'll have the little valve on top and the little valve on the gas side, you can engage that, and you can blow off some pressure off of it, but you do not want to be taking any tank. So if you're telling me that somebody has 20 to 25 PSI on that bright tank and or pushing it into kegs, I have a feeling it's a standard bright tank, man. And if that's a standard 1 bar or 15 PSI rated tank, that's dangerous as hell, man. I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm not understanding, and I'm trying not to sound like sound mocking or anything like that, or make it sound like too big of a deal, but that's a big deal, man. If I'm understanding it correctly, if you have a rated 15 PSI tank and you're putting 20-25 PSI on that tank in order to push beer into kegs, that's wild, and you should not be doing it. That's dangerous, and somebody could get hurt or die. That said, really what you're doing is when you're moving liquid from one vessel into the other, you only need the pressure on the receiving vessel to be slightly lower than what the bright tank is at, or the supply vessel, right? And because the head pressure is higher, these pressures might be a little bit different. But, a lot of times when I have a beer at 32 degrees or 0 Fahrenheit, and I have it at, stabilized at a 10 PSI in the tank, that I have my full carb right there. I've gone and I'll put gas on that fermenter at 15 PSI because I'm filling multiple tanks at once, and it'll kind of chase it down. But anyways, you just have to have it up a little bit higher. So, you could actually preset that keg a little bit lower. You don't want a situation when you're opening up those valves on the coupler where you see beer pushing backwards. You don't want that. You don't want to see CO2 coming out of the keg. You want to see that filling in. But, like I said, when you engage that coupler, the blow off, the vent on it, you can blow that down a little bit and then crack your top valve and make sure you have beer coming the right way. Yeah, that shouldn't be the issue. You should have a lot less pressure on your bright, no more than 15 for super majority of tanks out there. And then just bleed that pressure down, and you might be able to change that preset. You know what I mean? If you want that, if you only want to pressurize up to 12, that might be a preset that you can adjust on your keg. And yeah, But I would dig into that keg washer, that you have, and see how pressurized those kegs are coming out. But yeah, if that beer was overcarbonated, part of it might have been that it was getting, it had way too much pressure in the tank of origin. So yeah.